Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. My name is Ryan Linkletter. I'm back with my co-host here, Brady Penn. We're on the Blitz angle, and we're talking about the 8 biggest combine risers from this weekend. I was there in Indianapolis. I watched these prospects in person. There was a lot of people who turned heads and some other people who, got their names checked off on scouts boards this weekend. Honestly, combine was definitely an interesting experience for me being there for the first time in person. Definitely interesting to see. Not the most exciting event in the world, but definitely get some insider information and get a little outlook on each of these prospects, Brady. So, who was the first guy we were going to be talking about here?
Yeah, so the first guy that really stuck out to me is a dude that I actually just watched his tape last week and was already pretty high on, but now he might go in the top 15, and that's Matthew Golden from Texas. And he really didn't do a lot of testing. He pretty much just ran the 40, but that was good enough. He ran a 4.340, had a 1.53 10-yard split, played his first 2 years at Houston, actually, and then transferred over to Texas, playing in that RPO offense with Steve Sarkisian calling the plays, Quinn Ewers throwing in the rock. Put up a really good year and came on really, really strong after the regular season. SEC championship, big game. First round against Clemson, big game. Second round against Arizona State, big time game. And he also had a really good game against Ohio State as well in the semifinals, even though they lost that one. He's only 5'11, 191. He's not the biggest wide receiver, but he is very fast. His game speed shows on tape. And a 4.3 with his teammates Jaden Blue and Isaiah Bond both talking about how fast they were going to run really is eye-popping.
Yeah, Golden was one of the more intriguing prospects there in the draft. Definitely, there's rumors now that he might be the wide receiver one in this class, which is definitely interesting for sure. Heading into there, I think we all had a Mecca, we had Luther, and we had Ted all ahead of him in our probably mock drafts. And now I think Matthew Golden has a legit shot at being the wide receiver 2 off the board. Realistically, I think Ted still is that wide receiver 1, but Golden showcased a lot of talent where it gets interesting.
What about Travis Hunter, man? You keep forgetting it. Is it because he's
He's
just
like,
like
no,
so
no, no.
rare?
See, this is the thing. This is where I keep going back and forth with Travis Hunter. He's like his own category.
Yeah,
Like,
that's okay. That's that. I'm with you there. I agree with that.
yeah,
He's like an Otani. He's like,
yeah. He like you can't categorize like Travis Hunter in a cornerback or wide receiver. He's like Travis Hunter. He just
yeah. It is just interesting. I just kept seeing reports this weekend that like every single scout at the combine had Travis Hunter as their wide receiver one. Not even sure how much offense he's going to play. It just said he's still the best wide receiver in the class, and we'll see how teams use him.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things too is a lot of people were highlighting that this was one of the weaker wide receiver classes we've gotten in the last few years, and considering the top end talent that we've seen in the past few drafts. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. last year went 18, 19, somewhere around there. That was an
Right.
absolute steal for the Jaguars. So I think that's one of the clear things from this past draft. Now I'm going to transition right into the running backs, and this is a deeper class than that wide receiver group that we've gotten. One of the running backs that I want to mention, Bishul Tootin, absolute dog. I don't even know if I pronounced his first name right, but he was an absolute dog at the combine. Showed out all around. He comes in as the RB16 on NFL Draft Buzz's pre-combine rankings. He will shoot up within the top 10 after his combine performance. He was very impressive. It wasn't just the speed. We're going to pull up his RAS score right here. 9.73. That's a legit score right there. He's a short, physical back at 5'9", 205, and he's a playmaker. I think this guy went from being a potential 7th-round pick to a 3rd and 4th-round draft pick, and I really think we probably couldn't have this episode if he didn't at least get a mention.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know if you read up on his background, but he came from like a track star family, and I think like his mom and dad were both really good track runners. So it makes sense why he ran such a blazing time. But fortunately, even though we lost, when I saw him in person, my Yellow Jackets shut him down.
100%, 100%. Who's your next guy, Brady?
Yeah. So next up, I've got Nick Emanwory from South Carolina. A lot of people talking about him. Let's go ahead and break this down. So among safeties, 6'3" and 1/8, 97th percentile, 220 pounds, 92nd percentile, 43-inch vert, that was in the 98th percentile, 11.6 broad jump, 98th percentile, and then a 4.4 flat 40 in the 94th percentile. And among every single strong safety prospect since 1987, which there have been 1,079 of, he is the number 1 ranked in terms of relative athletic score. out of all 1,079 strong safeties. And it's to be determined how he's going to be used in the NFL. Is he going to be more of a box player? Are they going to put him in coverage? Is he going to play that star linebacker position where he's all over the place? We don't know. He could even be a Kyle Hamilton type of guy, but the athleticism is just unreal with this guy, and I don't think he's making it past pick number 20.
Dude, he's a Swiss Army knife. That's the best way I think I could describe him and his potential versatility in the NFL. He can move around between different positions. He can play slot corner. He can play linebacker. He can play safety. And I think one of the things that I noticed with this safety class is there's a lot of athletic guys at the safety position to come and fill in and play meaningful snaps right away in the NFL, which is definitely encouraging. And I think, honestly, one of the deeper positions in this class. I was going through my mock draft today, and after kind of seeing these guys in person, I think outside of maybe the top 5-6 guys, the gap between 7 and 45 in this draft is not much. I think a lot of these guys are very close together, and it's a great year to have, picks in the second round. It really is. I think this class is incredibly deep in terms of not top-end talent, but guys that can be really impactful players in their first year. And one of those players I want to mention is Quinshon Judkins. Very popular name. He was the RB6 heading into this weekend, and he didn't disappoint. Neither did his teammate Trayvon Henderson, who I made a video about. But Judkins is the guy that I want to talk about today. Judkins absolutely showed out at the combine. He was a bruiser in college. He split time with Trayvon Henderson this past year, and he's only produced in his college career. He's been a bell cow at Ole Miss. He split time with Trayvon Henderson in Ohio State, where he was still really good. And then you take a look at his RAS score, absolutely dominant here. I mean, there's just not much to judge with him. I mean, at this point, he should be the RB4 in this class. Right now I have Genty at 1, Hampton at 2, Trayvon Henderson at 3, and then I have Judkins at 4. I think those 4 are just the clear-cut top 4 running backs in my mind right now, especially with a guy we'll be talking about in a Faller's video, Caleb Johnson, not necessarily performing like we expected him to. I really think Judkins did a great job of showcasing that despite all the gaudy numbers in college, this guy's still an elite athlete and can be an elite player at the NFL level.
Yeah, I think that Judkins could even be better than Trayvon Henderson in the pros. I think that he's a little bit quicker. He's got a little bit more of a skill set for the modern NFL, though I think Trayvon Henderson could be solid too. And if people won't really remember, probably, especially people that are more tuned into just the NFL space, but Quinshon Judkins, after his first year at Ole Miss, I think he had 1,700 all-purpose. He was pretty much this guy's a generational running back prospect at that time. Had a good year, but not quite as good as sophomore year. I actually had a chance to talk to him a little bit going into his sophomore year, and I could just tell he was a competitor. Could tell he had that kind of fighter mindset when it comes to the running back position and always improving. And that showed when he was willing to kind of check his ego, go off to Ohio State. I mean, I know he still got a bag. He still went to a good situation, but going to Ohio State where there's already an established guy that's been there for 2-3 years and pretty much subjecting yourself to being the running back 2 just in the name of winning, that speaks even more volumes to me about Judkins. But I really like him athletically, and I think that he can be that type of player that contributes in the run game and in the pass game with his athleticism.
100%. Brady, who's your next guy that is a big riser from this weekend?
Mine is Shamar Stewart. This guy also had an incredible testing week. He's a specimen in terms of size and everything. He's 6'5", coming off the edge from Texas A&M. He's not the only Texas A&M D lineman that's getting a lot of buzz, but 6'5". He's 267 pounds. I think he played a little bit heavier in the season, but weighed in at 267, 40-inch vertical, 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump. He ran a 4.6 40. 4.6 at almost 270 pounds is pretty crazy. 158, 10-yard split. And this is a guy that I haven't watched all the tape on yet. I really can't wait to dig into it this week. But people have said, he might not be a 12-sack guy in the NFL, but he's constantly getting in there. He's constantly getting pressure. He's a great run defender. He's huge, takes up a lot of space off that edge. And the athletic testing just showed this is a guy that I think he might have sealed himself as a top 10 pick this weekend.
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things. He's clearly the edge 2 in my mind now at this point. He's just dominant. 6'5", like you mentioned, ran under a 4.6. He's an elite athlete coming off the edge. One of the biggest things I think I have question-wise for him is just his ability to be consistent in the run game. But I truly think if he lands in the right situation, he can develop that type of a skill set. Elite athlete, elite size. I truly think Shamar Stewart is the edge two in this class. James Pierce didn't necessarily impress me, and I mean, didn't even show up in the right clothes for the workout. And he has some.
Did you see the reports on James Pierce that like NFL personnel said they won't be surprised if he's still available after the first 64 picks, not even the first 32?
I know a lot of teams are starting to have him fall down their draft boards. I think a lot of personality and concerns like that are, interesting. And you know who's going to wind up scooping him up?
Who's that?
The Eagles. The Eagles pick those guys.
That was my guess, bud.
Yep, Eagles always pick those guys. All right, heading into my next guy, like I said, I mentioned Tootin. Maxwell Harrison is the other guy that we need to mention in this video. Harrison was one of the most impressive players all weekend in terms of just pure athleticism and balling out. Ran under a 4.3. I think it was the 4.29 was the official rating for his 40-yard time. And, he wasn't necessarily a guy that came into the combine as one of the top-ranked players. He's currently 13th on NFL Draft Buzz. That is going to shoot up. I think this guy is a potential top 10 pick in the second round now, kind of based on his performance this weekend. He's 5'11", not necessarily ideal, but he can run with the best of them. I truly think he has a role within the NFL, just kind of based on an athleticism standpoint, and it really helped jump up his stock here. One of the biggest things, though, as you look at the RAS, it's the weight. If his weight was a little bit better, he has a higher score on this as well, but completely crushed all the athletic tests here at the Combine. Brady, what is your take on Harrison?
I really had not heard a lot about this guy or researched into him very much. The one thing, the size is a little concerning. Obviously, you see he's pretty light of frame at 183, 5'11". Kind of could be, a Emmanuel Forbes situation potentially, where he ran a 4.35 40 a couple years ago. He was like 175 pounds. He obviously did not pan out well, but I think that Maxwell Harrison is a guy that I'm interested to look more into and to watch his tape, because obviously from a cornerback perspective, it's all about the big three right now: Travis Hunter and Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson. Those are the three that have really been getting a whole lot of buzz. But now, after this weekend with some of the testing, I think there are some more guys, including Harrison, to look into. And I saw that in your mock draft, you even had him, I think, in the first round now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a sneaky option, considering the fact that he's just a better athlete than almost every single person in this draft. And, if it wasn't for the height and weight concerns, his RAS score would be, up there with the best of them all time. So I think it's interesting to see kind of where he falls. And I think a team that, might see him potentially in the slot where he can maybe make more plays and put on weight, I think that would be an interesting fit for him as well. Who is your last player here for a riser?
Yeah, so this is a guy that, unlike the others, he didn't have a crazy athletic testing day, but the buzz that I'm seeing and how much front offices love this guy after the top 2-3 guys at this position group is Jackson Hawes. And I'm a little biased. Everybody knows I'm a GT guy, but I'm looking at some tweets right now. Going to be irrationally high on Jackson Hawes. Big elite blocking tight end vibes going on here. Jackson Hawes is an absolute dog, going to be a steal for a team with a power run scheme. And you look at what he did. You're on a 4.8 340, not anything great. He's 6 foot 253. From seeing him personally, he's bulked up, I think, past 260 at this point. Dropped a little bit more to run, but I think playing weight, he's a little bit heavier than what he showed up at. But he had a really good broad jump. He's got really explosive and heavy strides. He's a great run blocker. And then I think when I looked, let me get back to this, he was 4th in tight ends, both in 20-yard shuttle and broad jump. And I think even more important, a lot of people, especially the tight ends, were ducking that shuttle run. A lot of guys feel like, I don't know if they didn't want to hurt their RAS, but a lot of guys did not run the shuttle. A lot of guys didn't do the 3-cone drill this weekend. Jackson Hawes did. He showed up. He showed out. He's not as sexy of a tight end option as Colston Loveland, as obviously Tyler Warren, maybe even Mason Taylor after this weekend. But I think that if you're looking for a powerful run blocking and athletic tight end that can also catch the ball, Jackson Hawes is the guy for me.
Yeah, he's an interesting prospect for sure. I think he definitely falls outside of that upper echelon of tight ends, but could be a great value for some teams here in the middle of the rounds. And I kind of look at a team, maybe like potentially the Los Angeles Rams. I think he could fit well within that scheme. of what they do. Tyler
like
Higbee's
Higbee
getting a
type.
little older. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
would be a good fit there in Los Angeles. Getting into my last guy here, we're going to go with a Maction guy, Darius Alexander, defensive tackle. This guy's been a sneaky player on draft boards here for a little bit of time. We have a pretty deep interior defensive lineman
Toledo,
class.
right?
Toledo, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Deep defensive interior lineman class, and I think he's interesting because he falls end of first, early second type of range, and he did himself a bunch of favors performing like he did at the combine. 9.2 RAS score, ran under a 540, has elite size to him in terms of height, can put on more weight, but he's almost like a speed rush defensive tackle, so I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for him. As you see, 3-cone drill performed well. The shuttle drill wasn't necessarily great for him. But, I mean, a defensive tackle at this point, he's a speed rusher. He played a little bit on the outside as well in Toledo. We know the MAC isn't necessarily one of the premier conferences, but he has experience inside and outside as a pass rusher. I think it's interesting for sure. The other defensive tackles that are available in this class are big schools. They're Power 5 guys who, perform solid on tape. But Alexander dominated against the MAC. He's an elite athlete, and I truly think, this guy's a sneaky pick at the end of the first and the second. Brady, what are you thinking potentially Alexander sneaking into the first?
Yeah, we'll see. I do think that he's got a lot of favors done for him by a former Toledo athlete and Quinshon Mitchell. A lot of people had questions with Mitchell last year, and obviously he went in that first round, excelled, and was a top contributor on an Eagles defense that was really elite. But when it comes to the athletic traits of Alexander here, I really like them. I mean, obviously you showed the speed, the explosiveness, and the athleticism from a 3-tech type of guy. It's very encouraging, and a team could go for him that needs help on the defensive interior. And if he does get to the second, if he slipped a little bit, I could even see Washington with the news that they're moving off of Jonathan Allen most likely. I think that'd be a really good fit. But there are, of course, other teams too, maybe even Minnesota.
100%. Well, hey, those are our 8 biggest risers from the NFL Combine this past weekend. If you guys are interested in checking out our other Combine video from today, we're talking about the biggest fallers from the Combine as well. That'll be at the end of this video. If you guys are interested in more Blitz Sports Media content, hit that subscribe button. We're getting close to 450 for y'all. And me and Brady will catch y'all next time.
Yes, sir.